Hello, everyone. If you're watching this, we're so happy that you're here with us asynchronously for the Hot Science Summer Workshop. And this is the recording that's going on YouTube. So we're sorry that you had to miss the live one, but we will be providing you with the exact same information here. And I'm so glad you found it. So um, just a quick overview of what we're going to go through today. Discuss internships, a little bit of lab research at UMBC, which is something lots of you are probably interested in. Talk about study abroad planning, applying to scholarships and programs, volunteering and shadowing, and books and cultural awareness. So, um, yeah, a lot of these things are just things that we don't really have time to focus on so much during the school year because we've got classes, we've got exams, we've got stuff going on in our personal lives. It's just kind of like a busy time, and it's easy to just kind of push these things to the side and say, "I'll worry about that later." So, the summer is a really good time to get some of these things, just get the ball rolling on them, get some of them done, start thinking about them, start planning for them. And that way, they're kind of in place for you when the school year starts. And you also keep yourself kind of, in good shape. Whether that's, taking a class, which we're not talking about today, or just, thinking about your plans for the future, your career, what kind of things you want to do with your time in the summer, what you're reading, things like that. So let's start with internships. So first of all, what is an internship? An internship is basically an experience that gets you into the field. And an internship can actually mean a lot of things these days. It's something you probably hear all the time because, people are saying you need to get an internship. You need to do an internship during college, so that you get some experience in the field. Some of them will be paid, some of them will be unpaid, some of them will give you credit. There's a variety of things you can do. There's a variety of, you know, industries in which you can do internships, a variety of different types of things you can be doing during internships. But for the most part, it's kind of like an intro to work experience almost. And it is important to kind of do that in college because, it's a lot of jobs are going to ask you to have experience or, things like that. So, why should you seek out an internship experience? I mean, for many reasons. Number one, experience in the field to see if you actually like the thing that you think you might want to do with your life. Networking is a great reason. Frequently, people will get an internship during college and then they'll be hired by that company after they graduate because that company already knows them. They know how they work. That person has impressed the company, that kind of thing. It's also, yeah, it looks good on your resume. It's really important to have lines on your resume when you graduate from college so that you can get a good, you know, people will can get a good job. Somebody who's looking through resumes, for instance, will think that yours stands out because they don't look at resumes for very long when they're, flipping through applications. So if yours has something like internship at this place, that's a great line. People will see that and they'll flag it as a, oh, like maybe we should give that person an interview, that kind of thing. So let's talk about how you go about getting an internship. You can use your personal connections if your parents know people, if you have family friends or people in your community that work in your field. Ask around. But the best way to kind of, if you have no idea where to start, the best place to start is the UMBC Career Center. So in this the description box of this video will be a link to the Career Center website, careers.umbc.edu. And you can head over to that website to start having a poke around. So, the first thing that you're going to want to do if you want to get an internship is to make an account on Handshake. You might already have one, and that's great. On Handshake, you can post your resume, complete a profile, promote yourself to employers, and this is where the jobs and internships are often posted. So, you can work with a counselor in the Career Center to talk about like kinds of different types of internships and things like that, different types of things you might want to do in your field, etc. And that career counselor can kind of help you get set up on Handshake, can help you edit your resume, can help you figure out, how to find the postings on Handshake that you're interested in, things like that. And they can also really help you with like timing. So, for instance, making an appointment with a career counselor this summer might be a great idea because you can start building a relationship with that person um, now, and then they can kind of talk you through like the best practices for like if you would like to get an internship next summer, for instance, or maybe next spring. When do you need to go about doing that? When are those jobs going to be published on Handshake and posted there so you can apply, that kind of thing. So it's a great idea to try and kind of get involved in the career center as early as possible. And you can go in person or make an appointment with a career counselor online. All of these things can happen at the Career Center website. And again, there will be links in the description box to all of the places on the Career Center website that I'm talking about. You can also grab the career guide. You can get a print version of this at the Career Center or sometimes elsewhere on campus. For instance, I have a bunch of these in my office in the CNMS Advising Suite, which is UC 205. But you can also just download this, and they update it every year. By the way, if you're wondering where the Career Center is, it's in the Math and Psychology building. I think it's on the second floor. So you can head there if you are interested as well. They do have some drop-in things for resume editing and such. Okay, let's talk about lab research. So why should you seek out a lab research position on campus or somewhere else? The main reason is to get experience in the lab. It's the same as an internship. You want some experience. You want to see if you like working in the lab. You want to see what it's like to work in a lab. You want to, you want some experience so that if you would like to have a job that involves lab research in the future, you know what you're doing in a lab. And lab research is very diverse. You could be doing a whole lot of different things in a lab, but that's kind of the why. The how is a little bit trickier, and I will talk you through this. But it's not always just like so easy to just get a lab position because there are more students at UMBC who would like to work in labs than there are available undergraduate research assistant positions in labs. So you kind of have to be creative sometimes. So before I get into how you kind of go about finding a position, I'm just going to say one other thing, which is if I can't find a lab research position at UMBC, but I still want to get lab experience, what are some other options? Some community colleges have labs that are taking undergraduate research assistants, as well as other universities, UBalt, Towson, College Park, if you live near there. Those are other options for you to kind of, if you want to do some Googling to see if they have some labs, and research positions available, email some folks there. That's not, something that, just because you don't go to that university doesn't mean you couldn't, work on in that on a lab in a lab on that campus, for instance, especially if you're a commuter and you live near another university or community college. You can also look on LinkedIn and Handshake and stuff for places to, maybe get some lab experience. Again, you can talk to your professors about this. That's probably the best way to go about it. But let's talk about how you might find a lab position on campus. So the first thing that I would suggest that you do is go to your majors page. So I'm just using bio here because that's one of our biggest CNMS majors. So, and the link for this is going to be in the description box, the one for bio as well as for chemistry. So, you want to go to that research tab, which is at the top, and it's going to give you a bunch of different fields within biology, cell biology, computational biology. You can see them. This is a screenshot, so you're only seeing up to the ends here, but there's more than that. And you can, scroll down and click the one that maybe interests you the most, whatever that is. Let's say it's molecular biology and genetics. Okay, we've got a lot of faculty in molecular biology and genetics, and these people all have their own labs. So you can, have a read through all of these things, have a little browse, write down the things that interest you most. And then what you're going to want to do is, if you don't know the professor already, you're going to want to send them an email. Dear Dr. Blank, this is just an example. I am a rising, let's say sophomore, junior, senior, whatever, at UMBC, and my major is, let's say, Bio-BS. I am interested in gaining experience by working in a lab on campus, and I'm reaching out today to ask if you are currently taking applications for undergraduate research assistants. So that's just your little introduction. You're reaching out. This is your, your major and your class standing, asking, just if you're taking undergraduate research assistants. At this point, the professor will either continue reading, they'll ignore it, or they'll send you an email that says, I'm not taking undergraduate research assistants. Thank you so much for inquiring. Then, you want to get to the meat of your email. So I'm particularly interested and you want to say their research and put something really specific in there because, and then you should add relevant personal information here. This is why you're interested in that. You can have several sentences here. This should be a personal thing that you change depending on who you're emailing, based on their lab research and why it interests you. And you should try and be as genuine as you can about this. You want to apply to as many labs as you can, but you also want to make sure that you're making this, you're making them understand that this is actually something you're interested in. You're not just trying to find any lab, even if you are. And say, I plan to enter the field of blank after graduating from UMBC, and I believe that working in your lab would better prepare me for this kind of work. And then, end it with, please let me know if any positions are available and, if necessary, a list of relevant courses you should have completed. Because that can oftentimes people will just reach out like their first semester of UMBC and they haven't even taken bio yet. And the professor's like, no, you have to take at least through cell bio or something. And so it's, if you say, I understand because I may not have taken this relevant coursework, I'll reach out again when I have. And then best wishes or sincerely, yours truly, whatever, your name, major, etc. Okay, so you can copy this email if you want, and then you add your own things, or you can write your own version of it. But this is kind of the best thing you can do is just go through a bunch of research pages and see which labs really interest you, and just send some emails. You're going to get emails from some professors back. Some of them might say, yes, I am taking a research assistance currently, and here's how to apply. Some of them might say, I'm so sorry, we don't have any room, or we don't take undergraduates in our lab. And some of the professors will probably ignore you because they're busy, and they don't take undergraduate research assistants. So that's not something to beat yourself up about. Just understand that you will get some responses and you will not get some from others. Okay, so if you have any more questions about lab research, my best advice for you is actually to start talking to your biology or chemistry or other STEM professors, um, you know, at office hours, and developing a relationship with them and starting to network a little bit and ask them questions about lab research. And if they know anyone who, is taking undergraduate research assistants. Okay, so let's move on to study abroad. So why should you study abroad? Lots of reasons. Get some cultural awareness outside of, your own culture. Have an amazing experience, meet new people, see the world. There's so many reasons to study abroad. I may not need to give you any. You may have plenty of your own. When can you study abroad? Usually folks study abroad during their sophomore or junior years. So just so you know, you could study abroad, perhaps the beginning of your senior year, or in your first year if you're really on it, but most of the time sophomore and junior years. When should you start planning your study abroad experience? As soon as possible. Now, this is why we're telling you to do it now. And I'm going to explain to you the process of plan your study abroad experiences through our Office of, Study Abroad Office, International Student and Study Abroad Office. Okay, and where can you study abroad? That's a great question, and I am going to provide you with that information too in a second. So, the first thing you have to do if you want to study abroad, even if you're just considering it, is that you need to sign up for a Study Abroad 101 session and attend. So, you click this link. You can't click this because obviously this is a screenshot, but the link to this page will be in the description box. During the summer, you can go to the sessions Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 2. And again, if you can't because you work or you have class or something else, just send them an email to educationabroad@umbc.edu and you can set up a session that way. You cannot even meet with a study abroad advisor until you attend a Study Abroad 101 session. They're going to tell you all sorts of things like how financial aid works, how much it costs, where you can go, when you can go, all that stuff. What to expect if you're this major or that major. But there's lots of places you can go. And here is just a small number of them all over the world. You can go for the whole year. You can go for the fall. You can go for the spring. Sometimes you can go on a little study abroad during spring break or in a summer or winter session that's a little shorter. But there's lots of places all over the world that you can go for study abroad. And you can find out so much more if you go to a Study Abroad 101 session. Yay! So hopefully you sign up for one of those and attend. Okay, let's talk about scholarships. So when I talk about scholarships, I don't mean your financial aid package from UMBC. I mean an outside source giving you some money to help fund your education. Probably not a ton of money, like not enough to pay for a whole year at UMBC, but oftentimes you can get, $500, a couple $1,000s, maybe more than that. Because of your background, your interests, and maybe your demographics. So one tip I have for you that I got from a book called How to Win at College, which is a great book, is that you should apply to 10 scholarships per academic year. And how do you find these scholarships? You Google them. So, the reason to do this is to help you keep your resume updated and cover letter writing skills sharp. And also, you might get some of these scholarships. So, Google some scholarships in your area of interest with your background and demographics. For instance, if you are a Black woman who's interested in being an engineer, Google scholarships for Black women in engineering. That's it. See what comes up. A bunch of scholarships are going to pop up and you can apply to them. Note them down. Make an Excel spreadsheet. Say, this is what I need to apply to this scholarship. This is the date it's due. This is how much money it is. Make yourself a spreadsheet and come up with a calendar for your applications here. Maybe they need references, so think about who you could ask for a reference and things like that. Um, all that stuff. Understand. When it's due, how you apply, do you need to write a cover letter, make sure your resume is updated, etc. You probably won't get all of the scholarships you apply to. You're very unlikely to, but you might get a couple every year. And the more scholarships you get, the more lines you can put on your resume about that, the more scholarships you're going to get. And so it's also just really good practice, again, for writing those cover letters and keeping that resume updated and just finding out, where you can get that money from, where, demographically, who can support you, that kind of thing. There's lots of places that offer scholarships. So be on the lookout, be creative, ask around, talk to the financial aid office, go to the career center. Lots of places will be able to help you with this. Okay, volunteering and shadowing. Why should you do this? Number one, it helps you kind of get out of yourself a little bit. Volunteering in college is great because it just helps you remember that you're doing this degree so that someday you can kind of make a difference in the world. College is a lot about you. You're in your own head a lot. It's all about your grades and your progress, all that stuff, and your major and your future career. But volunteering really helps a lot of people remember why they're here, what they're doing it for. It can really help if you're having kind of a motivational rut. Where should you volunteer? Anywhere. You can serve meals in soup kitchens. You could tutor sixth graders in math and everything in between. You can volunteer through the Shriver Center at UMBC. And if you're interested in finding out more about that, um, you can click the link in the description box. You can get, sometimes you can even get prac credit for volunteer hours. Let's talk about shadowing. Job shadowing is basically following someone around who has the job that you're interested in, and you get to see if you would maybe like to do it. And why is it important? Well, it's mostly important in healthcare professions to get a little bit of clinical experience. If you're interested in being a doctor, going to medical school, it's important to connect with doctors, shadow them, things like that. That really helps you kind of get some experience, under like to work in a hospital, et cetera, et cetera. Um, all that stuff is important. So, again, the Career Center and the Shriver Center are the best places to start with this if you don't know where to start otherwise. Okay, so last tip here, you should be reading all the time. What should you be reading? Anything. You can read fiction, you can read nonfiction, you can read the newspaper, you can read articles. You should be reading all the time because it helps you keep your brain sharp, helps you keep your focus steady, all that stuff for when come back in the fall. How often should every day? You should read every day. I would really stress that you should maybe create a routine for reading. Okay, so maybe you start with 20 minutes, maybe you work your way up to an hour. Maybe a couple hours a day if you've got time. Reading is so helpful. And sitting there and actually focusing on reading for an entire hour is going to really help you keep your focus really steady through the summer so that when you come back in the fall, you can kind of ease back into your studying routine a lot easier in terms of focusing and not being distracted by your phone or other things going on. It's nice to kind of sit there for an hour a day, put that phone on, do not disturb, and just read. Whatever you're reading, be present with it. Where can you find reading materials that are suitable? Okay, so this is what I mean by what I mean by this is journal articles, science articles. These are a really great thing for you to start reading because, if you're going to be a scientist, you got to keep up with the literature. You got to be reading what's new, what's fresh. So you can go to any library to get books, but I'm going to show you how to use the UMBC library to find some publications that are peer reviewed and might be really helpful for you to read that kind of just keep your science mind, sharp. So if you go to the UMBC library website, again, this is linked down below in the description box. It will come up with the tab on everything, but if you mouse over to A to Z journal lists, like you can see here, and search for a journal like Science, you'll get the journal called Science. Publication details for Science. There you go. You might have to click on Science at the top of the next page. And then over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see all issues and articles. Every month, Science is published, and you can just go to any month, and it will give you a list of articles. And if you are logged into your UMBC account through the library, you can get PDFs of any of these. And a lot of these are short, like one pagers. It'll tell you 3/8 of a page, 1/5 of a page, things like that. You know, read one a day, read a few a day, read them for an hour a day, whatever you like. Maybe you're reading a book and that's kind of more what you're focused on, but you kind of read a couple of these every day. Maybe you keep up with it a little bit. There's lots of great things to read, and it's really nice to kind of keep those muscles exercised during the summer. Okay, so that's all we've got for you today. If you'd like to chat with us, got specific questions for an advisor or me, your student success coach, Emma Barnaby, you can send an email to cnmsadvising@umbc.edu or make an appointment with me by scanning this QR code. So thank you so much for watching today and joining us. Let us know if you need anything via email or make an appointment. Hopefully this helped you out a lot. And we hope to see you at many more workshops, either in person, virtually, or on YouTube in the future. Thanks so much.